So today I wanted to talk about lead generation and different kind of out of the box thinking tactics on trying to capture lead data, trying to reach an audience that you may not be able to get in front of. Okay. And with that, my those of you that have done any trainings on Title Advantage with me, I've shared that we were coming out with some new features, and we have come out with those. And it's the nice thing about my title site is we have created this site from the inside out, meaning our head of IT is the one that creates this site, manages it, and continuously improves it. Where all other title companies, for the most part, are using a third-party app like Title Pro or something, where they don't have any control over that app. It's just, it'll give you access to search certain things like a profile or a tax sheet. Well, mine does all that, but it does a lot more. And one of the new features that we've added is the ability to build QR codes, but not just to build QR codes, but to manage those QR codes and put some rules behind them. And so what I mean by that is we can turn it on to where when somebody scans a QR code, they would need to put in their information, and you would capture that. And then the ability to not only capture data, but alter QR codes and go in and say, okay, this QR code I used to direct to one location, and now I want to direct it to a different location without having to just start from scratch again, which is great for marketing material. So we're going to talk to that, but the way that you get there is you go to my site, tommyfortitle.com. It's on my business cards. It is in the bottom corner of the picture on my Zoom there, but it is Tommy4title.com. It'll bring you to this site. You're going to scroll down. If you haven't already gotten an account, you'll either log in or you'll sign up. Okay, if you sign up, it goes to me. I'll approve it. But you'll need to get an account to be able to access it. Now, I'm not going to go through this site from start to finish. We're going to talk and stay strictly on lead gen today and how to capture some leads, thinking outside the box. But this is a very simple site to use, and I'll let you just play around with it. And if you need help, I can put together a training for you one-on-one or as a group. Okay. But for today, we're going to focus on the More Tools icon, and we're going to focus on QR codes. Okay. So think of it in this way. Being able to direct somebody that scans a QR code anywhere you want them to go on the internet, whether it's to a specific page on your site, whether it's to a PDF flyer that is stored online, or whether it's to pictures of a property, or it's to a link that they could find out what their home value is. Okay, there's countless things that you can direct them to by scanning it. If you could have a site online, you can direct them there, right? But I want to talk a little about different things. We're going into a different era of real estate, right? Where we have rules and regulations that are changing. We're going to have a buyer broker agreement signed before you can show a property. You're going to have some people that are just not going to be ready right now to commit to that, right? They may not know you. So think of it in this aspect. Let's say that let's say that you as an agent are holding an open house, right? And we know that to show that open house, they're going to have to sign a buyer broker agreement, even if it's just exclusive for that one property, for you to show it to them. There will be a lot of people that may not want to do that, right? Or may not want to do that right now. And, you're going to have some people, some buyers that will be skeptical. They don't know you yet. They don't want to feel like they have to commit right away. We're not talking a warm lead from, say, Zillow, or a generated lead from the team that comes to you that you're meeting at the house for the first time. You have that scheduled appointment. We're talking about, at this point, an open house. Somebody drove past your sign, led them to a house. They think they're going to be able to walk through and see it, but ultimately they can't unless they sign, right? So you're going to have some people that will be skeptical about that. And you may not have as much time as you would meeting somebody one-on-one to sit and explain that unless you have help at that open house. But there, for those that may not feel comfortable signing that agreement to be able to come into the house, what happens to the rest of them, right? What happens to the ones where you scheduled an appointment for an open house between the hours of 12 and 3, they show up at 3:15, the open house is over. So we're going to talk to things like that. We're going to talk to things like old school door hangers, but new school tactics. We're going to talk about flyer advertisements. We're going to talk about online posting advertisements. All these kind of outside the box thinking that you may already be doing, but that you can create one time and then reuse that data over and over and over without having to redo it. Okay. And it's all in the use of using QR codes and directing that audience where you want them to go. So down here, in the bottom left-hand corner, is our QR code generator. Okay. Now you can click on a new QR code. You won't have a list there. I do because I've used this. But you can direct, again, anywhere they want to go. Okay, so I want to direct them to my site. And I will create that QR code. Okay, now this QR code will take you to TommyForTitle.com. If you scanned it right now, that's where it's going to take you. Okay, I can download this, I can view it, but I can also do other things. I can come into my list and I can click on it, and it'll give me some options on the right-hand side. I can view the link content that basically, if I click on that, it'll take me to my site that I put programmed in there. I can edit the link content. So I don't want it to say TommyForTitle.com. I may want this to say, I may want this to say, scan for info on this property. Okay. And, edit. Take that out. Okay. I can download the QR code. I can print it as a flyer, or I can view the contact list. So we're going to get into that. Up here in the upper right or left-hand corner, it's kind of grayed out. It says require contact information to view. If I turn that on, I get more options down the right-hand side over here. Okay. And by doing that, what's going to happen is now anybody who scans that QR link, which I need to change this back real quick because anyone who scans that QR link to go to that will be asked to give their information. Okay. And it's going to look like this in a form of a landing page, right? And I can alter this landing page however I see fit. But right now it's asking for first name, last name, company name, if applicable, email address, and phone number. But I can go back and edit the landing page and tell it what I want. So I want to require first name. I want to require last name. I don't need company info, email. Yeah, I want the email, and I want the phone number. Now, if I was using this QR code for like, find out what your property's value is or something like that, I may want them to put in their address. I give that option. Right now, I'm not going to include that. They can save that. And then when you view the landing page again, you'll see that it's shortened. First name, last name, email, phone number. Okay. And so when they scan the QR code, it's going to ask them to give their information. Once they give the information, it will direct them to wherever that QR code is being directed to. Okay. So let me pull up a different QR code here real quick. So the nice thing about this is I could put this QR code on any type of marketing material I want, right? And I could reuse this QR code over and over. So let's say that this QR code is linked to a website, which this one is not. It's linked to my site, but it's linked to one that would allow somebody to get their home's value or to generate a CMA, right? Most of your websites, I believe GoWP Now does have that embedded in it where you could do that. And let's say I'm directing them with this QR code to that. And then I decide I want to use the same QR code because it's on, say, a door hanger or something, but I want to direct them to a different place. Well, I can do that. I can edit my link and I can change where I want to direct it to and click save and it would go there, okay, without ever changing this QR code. It's just changing the destination. Why is that a big deal? Well, let's say that I want to build a topper, a sign topper like this. And hopefully you guys can still see my screen here, but I created this little sign topper here. You could get these custom made. They're 6 inches tall by 24 inches wide. They're corrugated plastic, and the cost is about $5, just under $6. So cost of a Starbucks to make, right? But let's say you make 2 of these, and in old times, this QR code would be obsolete if you said, scan this to see the inside of this home. And then once that home sells, this sign topper is dead, right? Well, not anymore, because now we can direct this QR code over here to the next house that gets listed or the next house that we hold open, okay? So think of taking a sign topper and putting it out on top of the sign for your open house, and it says, scan here to get your home's value on this side, and we direct them to do that. And then on this side, it says, scan here to see the inside of this home, and they do that, and it takes them to show the inside of the home. Well, we're not just going to take them to, say, a flyer or to the MLS site that's going to show the listing agent that may not be you, right? It may be you, but we're going to take them and send them to your GoWP Now site, right? So you went to GoWP Now, and let's just search for a house. We want to buy, let's see the new listings. This one right here. Say I want to direct them. This is the house I'm holding as an open, right? So I search it on my GoWP Now site. It gives me a unique link up here that is taking me directly to this particular house that I'm holding the open house at. I copy that link. I go back into my QR code here, and I say edit link, and I change this, and I save it. And then that would change the destination of where it's going, right? So then when you go back and you see the QR code, where'd it go? You scan that QR code there, it's going to take you directly to that link, but within your GoWP Now site, right? Or wherever you're going to direct them. So I could reuse this sign topper over and over and over and over and over again, because each house that I'm going to that I'm placing the sign topper on, I can go in and edit the QR code to direct them where I want to send them. Okay. Same thing with if I used, where's it at? Here, right here. Door hangers, right? So here's 250 door hangers for $38. And I can build these custom, both sides. And I would suggest that you do it in a matte finish, because there'd be a QR code on there that somebody's going to try and scan, so they don't get so much of a glare. But on one side, you'll have your information and you'll have a selling proposition on the back side. So let's say that you are somebody that holds open houses quite frequently. Well, then if you made 250 door hangers and you put on one side the invite to your open house and the QR code to where that house is, because it's going to be within the neighborhood that you're going to hang them in. And then on the backside, you do the selling proposition, which is find out what your home value is with that QR code on that side. Well, these you would be able to use at any open house because, again, you could change the destination of the QR code to the open house that you're holding on that particular day. Okay. You know, the downfall to it is if you hang that on somebody's door, like the closest 25, 50 neighbors, and that neighbor keeps it but doesn't scan it for 2 weeks, it's going to direct them to whatever open house you're holding, right? That'd be the downfall to it. But the odds are that somebody would scan it now to say, oh, what's the house in my neighborhood worth or selling for? And then on the back, they may want to find out what their house is valued at. And then you give them that link as well. Okay. These are just ideas. Now, the backside of your business card. The backside of your business card is usually wasted real estate that nobody ever uses. But what if there was a selling proposition on the back of that business card and you had a QR code on there and you could direct somebody to scan that, but not only scan it, but scan it and give their information, right? And then when somebody does and they scan it and give their information, then you'll be able to log into the QR code here, right? So let me take you back to the beginning of QR codes here. You'll have a list of all your QR codes that you build here, okay? So if somebody were to log into that QR code and give their information, down here in the bottom, it says view contact list. You would be able to view anybody who went in and registered, okay? And it'll keep a running tally there. Now you can also download this list by exporting, okay? So again, we're capturing the data within our system, but giving you the ability to not only go in and see that, but then download that as well. In a lot of cases, you're going to be sending them somewhere within your ecosystem. So whether that is to your GoWP Now site, where eventually that site's going to ask them to register or what have you. Some people don't want to do that, right? But if somebody's willing to scan a QR code, that means they want the information in which they are scanning, right? They're more likely to give their contact information to get the information that they want without having to talk to you face to face than logging on to a site and the site saying register, right? So it's great if they register on both and then you capture them in both places. But even if you just had the capture on the QR code and were able to get their email and their phone number and their name, you can download that list and you can upload it into your system, into your CRM anyway, and then start dripping on them as well, right? So it's kind of a game changer, right? Think of not having to sign into an open house ever again into a login book. Scan here, you know, they scan the QR feed and log in, and then it sends them the information you want to send them for that open house, and you capture them. The other thing is you can turn on notifications. Okay, so I can click on notifications and I can say, I want an email every time somebody registers on this QR code, and I can put the email in which I want it to go to. And then I can put a second email as well. So if I have an admin or I have, say, a Gmail and my GoWP Now, and I want to be alerted at both so I don't miss it and I get it right away or whatever it is, you can put 2 emails here, okay? If you are sharing a QR code for an open house with a lender and you want to plug the lender in there as well and say, hey, every time somebody signs in, we're both going to get this lead so we can both reach out to them. Then you guys put your email and put the lender's email in there, and it'll send you an email every time somebody registers, okay? It'll also send you an email if somebody goes in and unregisters. Because to be legal, we have to give them that option, right? That they could log back in and unregister. However, as soon as they log in and register one time, we capture them in the contact list, and their contact info will remain there, regardless if they unsubscribe or not. Okay, we will not send any information to that client whatsoever. We tell them in the disclosure that we will not be sending that information, but we do say that the information will be shared with your name, whoever's the registered owner of my site. Okay, so when you see that, I'll show you that right now. Down here in the bottom, I understand, acknowledge that my information entered here will not be sold by California Title Company San Diego, but may be shared with the realtor for this property. Your name would be listed there instead of mine. Okay. So, you know, we do give that disclosure. And the other thing that we can do is we can, again, utilize the QR code over and over and over, right? So I can have this one directed to a list of homes in North OC under 750,000. When they click on it and give me their info, it goes to my GoWP Now site to a search that I've already done for $750,000 homes and under in North OC, right? And then I could choose to put out marketing material and stuff online. I can choose to put out marketing material around an open house. I can choose to put that QR code wherever I want. But at any time, I can decide to reuse that QR code and say, here are homes listed in the last 7 days under, 850,000. And I can alter that QR code. The list doesn't change. It'll just keep building that same list. It's just changing where I direct it, right? So again, I look at it in the aspect of marketing material. How can I create something one time, spend a very, very little amount, i.e. $40 or under for 250 door hangers, i.e. $5.87 for a sign topper that I can hang off of any of my signs or use at an open house or what have you, and not be a one and done with that print, right? Be able to just reuse that over and over and over again, because I created it in a way that is very generic, right? I'm just going to redirect where I want that to go, okay? The biggest thing is being able to capture the data. So again, you can alter this however you want. You could change the name on it however you want. And if you just want it to be real simple, go with first name, email, phone number, right? If you want to get a little more in depth, then you can change it to ask different questions. But ultimately, it's a way of thinking outside the box. Now, from a lender perspective, David and Kathy, same thing. I mean, you guys could put out a marketing material that says, here's today's rates, right? Scan this QR code for today's rates. But you don't show them the rates, right? You say, hey, today's rates dropped to an all-time low, scan here for today's rates. They scan there, they have to register, you get their contact information, and then it sends them to today's rates, right? And then you're able to then follow up with them because there was somebody interested in the rates drop. From a realtor perspective and a lender perspective, think outside the box of what type of material are my ideal client interested in, right? And instead of just giving him that, you give them the 30,000-foot flyby of what it is. You dangle the fruit right in front of them, but then the ultimate picture of the info that they want, you direct them to where you want, but by capturing their data, right? And if somebody scans that and they never give their data, you'll never know that they ever scanned it anyway. So it's like no harm, no foul, right? I have a lot of agents that are using these QR codes now instead of printing flyers for their open houses. They just put one flyer in a stand and a QR code next to it. It says scan here to receive this flyer electronically, right? And then they capture their data that way versus printing 30, 40 flyers and using 10 of them and then throwing the rest away. So you could really get creative with how you use it, and where you use it. But the nice thing is now, instead of just directing them directly, you can actually capture their data ahead of time. Now, you can build a QR code and never ask for their data as well, right? You can use my system to do that. You can go in and alter that QR code and never toggle that toggle switch over to require contact info, right? But if you do want to capture their data, then you just toggle that over and it instantly starts capturing their data. Okay. So I'm gonna open this up for some dialogue. And let's see, there was a chat. Okay. For suggestions, right? How would you use this to be able to capture somebody's data? What's an idea that comes to mind that you're like, oh, I could use it this way?
Well, I mean, the same, you showed us a couple riders and different things like that, but you can just make flyers and hand them out with the QR code to drive traffic. You could be anywhere that you are. You could be showing buyers out, and then on your last buyer, you can go drop 15 flyers off at 15 houses around that last home and see if anybody knows anybody or looking for anybody to sell, or if they're looking to buy or sell. So
Right.
so many different things.
Well, you guys work with a lot of buyers, right? So you go to the house, you show them the house. What's typically in the front yard?
Someone else's sign.
Someone else's sign, right? Typically that sign comes down by closing day, right? What about a sign that is your sign that goes up on closing day that says, this house sold to, the Dutcher family by Dominic Dye. And I can help you find your dream home as well. QR code, right? What if you're able to partner with a lender on a flyer and you each have a QR code, right? With a unique selling proposition. The lenders would be learn about all of our programs that can help first-time home buyers get into a house with no money out of pocket, or whatever that may be, right? And from a realtor perspective, it could be, we have the ability to get almost anybody into a home as long as they have job history, income, and FICO score, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. So it really comes down to is, what can you offer? Well, we have unique programs, right? We have unique programs to help any first-time home buyer, whether you have a down payment or you don't. And so, you have to get creative of where you could leave your mark behind. But by getting creative is, how can you entice somebody to want to scan a QR code? Everybody carries their phones around with them. It's like part of your body. If you lost your phone, your heart fell out of your chest. So everybody has the ability now to just scan a QR code. So you just got to get creative on your marketing of enticing people to want to do that, right? And so, from say a lender, David, right? Say, and Kathy, say you guys had created a marketing piece that says, scan this QR code for each week's update of this week's rates, right? Or you do it daily and say, this QR code will automatically link you to today's rate every day. And every day you just took that new link for today's rate and programmed it into that QR code. And in most cases, it's probably the same link. It just, they went to it and there's an updated rate there, right? And from a realtor perspective, it's being able to spend a little bit of money on marketing, but reuse that marketing over and over and over and over and over again, so that you don't waste money on marketing, right? You can create a marketing piece or an idea one time, and that QR code can be transferred to wherever you want to direct them whenever you want to. And so it's trying to make things a little bit easier versus redoing things over and over. If you spent $50 on a marketing piece, and let's say it was 250 door hangers, and you were able to use 50 of them, and then the QR codes or the information on it was no longer relevant, and you threw out 200 of the 250, you would never do it again, right? But if you're able to create something one time, and it would never go, it would never get to a point where it's not relevant anymore, then you'll always have them. You may not use them all right now, but you're going to remember down the road and be like, oh, I have those door hangers. I could use those right now. Just alter where the QR code goes. You know, so I look at a door hanger as not like, hey, let's go walk the neighborhood and hang 500 door hangers. I look at it as strategic play of, I'm going to hold an open house. I'm going to make sure the 25 closest neighbors get a door hanger, right? That not only says I'm holding an open house, invite all your friends, pick your neighbor on one side, view what house I'm holding, but then on the other side, it's going to have my unique selling proposition with a QR code that takes them there as well. But I can reuse that door hanger over and over and over and over and over again. And if I get 2 or 3 neighbors pop in, neighbors sell houses. So, you know, I look at it in a way of how can I, you know, build marketing pieces for very, very low dollar amount, but then be able to use them ongoing. And those sign toppers and things like that are a huge thing, you know, especially now with the change of stuff. If you have a listing out there and you put a sign topper up there that says, scan here to view, you know, to view this home, people are just driving by, they stop and scan it. You would never know that somebody drove past that house to look at it from the outside and then goes, oh, maybe I'll go search it online, right? Instead of call the number on the sign, I'm just going to go online and search it because I can find it on Zillow. I can find it anywhere. But you give them the easy button that says scan here to see the inside of this home, and they, you know, scan it. You may luck out and grab a handful of leads that are just people driving past the house, right? And then you could just take that sign topper and move it from one property to another.
I mean, is the idea of marketing to a farm still a thing? Is that still effective marketing through postcards or flyers or, you know, regular
you have to be very, very consistent, right? And most realtors are not consistent enough to manage a farm. A farm is ongoing. That's why it's called a farm, right? The farmer goes out and plants its crop. They don't get any production in that crop, usually the first 2 or 3 seasons. And then the 4th time that they plant that crop over again, it flourishes, right?
Right.
But they're very consistent in planting that crop every single time that season rolls around. And the more consistent they stay with it, the better production they get from it. That's why they call it farming. Farming can be very expensive unless you're very, very consistent over time with it, right? Most agents that do have a farm that they're consistent in is they do it with the notion of, I'm going to put X% of every deal I do back into my farm, right? They just keep that farm rolling. And then as the farm starts to produce, they'll expand that farm outward, right? Into a bigger footprint. Right. But you have to be extremely consistent. And what I mean by consistent, that's not once a month. That's more like, how do I hit on them once a week or twice a month minimum?
And that's through what kind of marketing materials? Just like a direct mail piece, or
it could be direct mail. I mean, I always teach it in 3 pillars, right? You should be not only reaching out direct mail to them in that farm, you should be reaching out via telephone in that farm. You should be reaching out via email in that farm, and via social media in that farm. And what I mean by that is, if you take a list of emails, right, and phone numbers for, say, 1,000 homes, which would be a bigger farm than I would want anybody to start at. I would say you start at 250 homes because you won't be consistent enough at 1,000. It's too expensive to start for most, right? What I do say is we pull 1,000 and we work 250 and then work our way out on the mailers. But I take that 1,000 homes and I see how many emails and phone numbers I can get from that 1,000 home farm. And I take that and put it into a CSV file with name, email, phone number, and I upload it into Facebook Messenger, Facebook Manager as a custom audience. Facebook will not tell you anymore, like out of the 1,000, how many they find that are Facebook registered. But I will tell you that if you keep adding those into Facebook over time, once you get above, I think it's, they may have changed it. I think it's 500 now. Once you get above 500, it will start giving you analytics, right? So you'll know that your custom audience list is above 500. But now if I run a Facebook targeted ad, right? Just a generic ad. And I tell Facebook in my ads manager, I only want to send it to my custom audience. And I don't put a radius or anything else. I just say, I just want to get it in front of my custom audience only. You could do that for pennies. And what I mean for that is like under 25 cents per impression, and per impression is 1,000, right? So think about it. If you had the ability to retarget your farm, and every time they went on to Facebook, they see you for literally a quarter at a time, and they see you online, and then they see something show up at the house with the same marketing, and then eventually you get a hold of them on the phone, and they're like, oh, I know this name because I see him on Facebook all the time, and I see him get, deliver stuff to my house. That's how you're going to cultivate a farm. But you have to hit them from all angles, and you have to be consistent about it. Just
Right.
most aren't that consistent.
The QR codes are amazing, right? Using it on your business card, no brainer, and any marketing material for sure. And it's free, so
It's free. And I look at it in the aspect of this, like, think of it from an open house perspective. You're hoping as many people come through your open house as possible. You're able to have dialogue with them and talk to them, introduce yourself, see what their likes are, their wants are, their needs are, and what their why is, right? But what if somebody just drives past that open house and never comes in,
happens a lot.
right? They drive past and like, yeah, it's so. I just don't have enough time to stop right now, or oh, it looks busy, or not busy enough, whatever it may be, right? And they just don't go in the open house. You may be able to capture them where it says view the inside of this home, scan here, and you may capture people that never step foot in the house, right? So it's how do you open up the footprint of how many people you could potentially have conversations with? Well, if you only get 10 people through your open house, and we know that the number is about 20 to 25 conversations about real estate a day to be able to have enough lead flow flowing in. You have to be able to talk to that amount of people about real estate in a day minimum. How do you open up that window of possibility of talking to people that are interested? And that is capturing data of people that you don't physically have conversation with to get their data, right?
Right.
It's capturing them online. It's capturing them by mail. It's capturing them by email. It's capturing them by them registering on your site or within a QR code. It's these people that show interest in real estate so you can have that dialogue, right? And so how do you open that up to be in more places than you can physically be at one time?
It's good.
And that's leaving your footprint behind somewhere that entices somebody to want to scan that for whatever information you are offering, right? I may look at it and say, let's say you go to, this is really thinking outside the box now, right? Those of you that live in, say, Temecula, right? You have different communities. Some of them have associations. Some of those associations have pools or multiple pools for the association. What if you went down and you put a little flyer next to the gate that opens into the community pool and says, view all pool homes in Paseo del Sol that are listed currently for sale, right? And you get somebody who goes, man, we're down here 4 times a week. It'd be nice to have a pool in our backyard. And they scan the QR code to get that list. And you direct them to your GoWP Now site. That's a list of pool homes just in Paseo del Sol that are, right? It could be as simple as that. But you have to think outside the box of, you could build as many QR codes as you want, right? You could direct them wherever you want to go. It could be a list of homes under 500,000, single family residents, list of homes under 600,000, list of homes under 7, whatever it is, based on the demographic you're in, you know, and then being able to figure out where can I leave this behind where it's not going to get tossed right away, where I can hit enough people that are going to scan that QR code and I'll give them the data they want. They just got to give me their name and their phone number, right? And the ones that scan it don't give you that, you'll never know. So it doesn't matter. No harm, no foul. You don't feel like you were rejected, right? Because you didn't call somebody with a hang up, or you didn't, you know, have a door slammed in your face. You'd never know that they ever scanned that unless they gave you their data. It's getting creative where you can leave that data behind to entice somebody to want to scan, right? We've been working on this for a while. We've had the QR code out there for a long, long, long time, years, but trying to work through the gray tape of legal to be able to say, yeah, you're able to do that. It took a while. You know, we're bound by SB 133 rules and regulations, just like, you know, real estate's bound by the DRE. And so we had to have everything in place to be able to turn it on. And we were able to turn it on a short while ago. So, you know, it just really comes down to is how you feel you can use it, right? So, all right. Go ahead, David.
Sorry, Tommy. I was just going to say that in our business, we're a business of copycats, right? We all tend to copy what works. Is there somebody in your circle that really maximizes the use of the QR code that you would say, hey, that's a great example of somebody you could, you know, copy their tools, whatever they're putting out, that kind of thing? Or, you know, we all kind of can come up with our own stuff, right? Yeah. Our own flyers and whatnot. But is there anyone who's already embraced it so that you say that guy really knows what they're doing when it comes to the QR code?
Nothing that I shared today hasn't been tried and tested. I can tell you that. And a lot of them, it sounds very remedial, right? Like, oh my God, this is nothing new. We've had sign toppers for 100 years. We've had door hangers for probably just as long. But it's how you utilize those door hangers. I can tell you that the door hangers that have gotten the best response are not the ones with a whole bunch of agent branding and everything. They're very plain.
Right.
They're very plain. You know, holding an open house in your neighborhood today, scan here for info type of thing, where, you know, it doesn't have a date and time or anything or an address so that you can use them over and over, but very generic, right? And then the agent information on the backside, you know, at the top with, you know, a selling proposition. And those selling propositions, they vary, right? It could be, I've seen them as, you know, as remedial as, you know, get your home's value. But I've also had people think outside the box and say, well, you know, I have a scan here for information on our seller VIP packet, right? And everybody could have a seller VIP packet. It's just, what do you want in there, right? It's basically is when somebody goes to it, it's like, hey, you know, here are our 25 points that we do for each of our listings. And we do this, 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 and this. And when they do that and they register, you know that they registered for that. You're going to make sure that you drop off something to their doorstep, which is your basically seller packet that is showing what you do for your listings, right? And if you do that, most of them that do it well will deliver a CMA with it.
So door hangers, business cards, open house flyers,
signs.
and then any
I
kind
have
of
somebody.
media that
I have somebody who is doing the back of receipts on grocery store receipts, right? Which targets a specific grocery store, so a specific area, and their ad shows up. So they put a selling proposition on there with the QR code, so that, you know, over time they can look at it and be like, directing them to this QR code is not doing well, so I'll direct them somewhere else and see if it does better, etc. I have people that do park benches. I have people that do, you know, the shopping carts inside grocery stores, that advertisement. You know, I have, you know, the list goes on. But a lot of people, almost everybody that I work with right now that is spending marketing dollars. I'm not talking free stuff online, postings here and there, that stuff, but spending marketing dollars, print ad, billboards, anything like that, they're moving to the QR piece. And it's for one reason is if you can build an evergreen ad to where it's not specific to one thing, but it's telling somebody, you know, for information on X or whatever that is, scan this, then you could change what that scan is if it's not doing well without changing the whole ad, right?
Right.
So if I'm directing them to a location, you know, if you said something specific like get a list of pool homes under 750,000, then that QR code really is only good for pool homes under 750,000, right? Doesn't make sense if you direct them anywhere else. But if you had an advertisement that was more evergreen, it wasn't specific, then that QR code, you could alter where you're sending them or how much data you're giving them based on where you're sending them, because maybe it's not working, right? So you change it a bit. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you put an advertisement out there and I'm getting people are registering. They're registering. I'm seeing it, right? I'm getting the notifications of registering on the QR code. But then my follow-up is on deaf ears, or nobody's reaching out direct because of the information I gave them, right? I'm getting no response outside of that in the information. And maybe the information is not strong enough, right? So you alter what you're giving them in hopes that you get better response. And what I mean by that is better closure rates, right? So, you know, the nice thing is you could now change your QR code without changing your marketing, right?
Right.
You can set up the marketing one time and then alter the destination, which is very, very convenient. Because, you know, if you spend a lot of time or you spend any type of money, you don't want to waste that away. You know, it's not working, right? You just change it up a little bit. So, you know, you can get as creative as you want to get. It's just, how do I get somebody to scan this, right? Well, I have one agent that's doing extremely well on social media that basically said, you know, puts posts on community pages when they're allowed to. Some community pages will allow, you know, businesses to post one day a week, etc., things like that. But if you can find out where the audience is, you know, a community page that has 15,000, 20,000 members and they're all within that community, and you're able to put a posting that says, hey, here's who I am. I'm holding a raffle once a week. Win a $25, you know, gas card or gift card or Starbucks card or whatever it is. Pick a number between 1 and 100, right? You see that all the time in the past, right? Well, now instead of saying, you know, pick a number between 1 and 100, you're just holding a raffle. You have to register to be entered. Put the QR code, go here to register. They scan it, give their information, they're registered, right? All you got to do is pick a winner. So you just post the winner at the end of the week instead of having, you know, all these. Well, the tactic in the past was, how do you get as many people to react to that posting as possible? Why? Because in Facebook, I could run an ad that says, I want to target people that reacted to my post. I posted this on a community page. So anybody who reacted to this post, I want to run an ad to. So it'd be like, hey, I'm holding a raffle. You get something for nothing. Pick a number between 1 and 5,000. Winner will be announced next week, right? And everybody will start leaving comments, 25, 87, 192, etc., right? So you get 1,000 people in the community that respond, and then you run an ad everybody who responded to your ad, and it goes in front of 1,000 people over and over and over. It was a marketing tactic, right? On Facebook. It's become harder to do that now when you're running things that are related to real estate. So how do you get them out of Facebook? Well, you can do the same thing. You just have them registered by scanning the QR code. Now you take that, upload them into your CRM, and you drip on them all day long, right? You upload that into Facebook and you say, I want to target this custom audience, etc. So it's just ways of working around online marketing. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right now.